Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the third day of LitFestx. This is the first session of the day, and for all you early risers who've taken up the trouble to be with us at noon, welcome all of you. We have with us Mr. Krishna Shastri Devulapalli. He's an artist, cartoonist, graphic designer, columnist, humor writer, and novelist. I'm sure there are many more things he does, but I'm running out of breath, naming all of them now. Krishna has written two novels in the past. The first one called Ice Boys in Bell Bottoms and Jump Cut. He's also written a play called Dear Anita. His third book is about to be released very soon, and the book is called How to Be a Literary Sensation, a quick guide to exploiting friends, family, and Facebook for financial gain. The book is a humorous nonfiction that is a satire of India's publishing scene, amongst a few other things. So, Krishna, welcome to LitFestx. And, maybe we could start by you giving your comments about LitFestx, since now it has become very much part of the Indian publishing scene as well.
Thanks, Kumar, for that intro. Also, I think I have to live down the comments I made about LitFestx in Deccan Chronicle, which all my friends are ringing me up and asking me about its, you asked is the question that you'd asked was, is a virtual LitFest, a good place to have literary discussion because people aren't face to face, the human interaction is not there. And my answer was yes, I think it's the best place to have a literary discussion because I can drink while I'm at the session and I can pretend it's water, which I can't in a live LitFest. And also I can wear my rattiest shorts. I mean, I said this for fun, but the truth is I think it's a good place to be because it saves writers the travel. They can drink their own liquor at home and be there on the session. I think they can. It saves them a lot of trouble. So I was really looking forward to this, and here I am.
Great. So talking about Krishna, your sort of personal brand of writing, if I can call it. I've seen some of your pieces online, and you have this really irreverent style of bringing out new angles around the many day-to-day issues related to the publishing world. Now, in your new book, How to Survive the Indian Publishing Scene Without Medication, you have really taken a fun look about the Indian publishing scene. Tell us a little bit more about what this fun element or satirical element about the Indian publishing scene is.
Firstly, tiny correction. Our session is called that, what you mentioned. My book is called How to Be a Literary Sensation. And before I actually begin proceedings, why don't I actually unveil the book for the very first time in India? It's not being seen by anybody. So let me plug it here, right here.
Absolutely.
So this is the cover of the book, How to Be a Literary Sensation, a quick guide to exploiting friends, family, and Facebook for financial gain. And of course, there's a stripe through the financial, below which I add artistic. I change it to artistic. Well, this book, in the last 5 years, ever since my first book was published, I've had the pleasure of being somewhat, on the fringes of the publishing world. And while my first two books, the two novels, came out very clearly in the fact that I wanted to write my first book, like most authors, it was a semi-autobiographical book. I wrote that first. I had to get it out of my digestive tract, so to speak, before I could write anything else. That happened with the plan, and so did the second book. But this one, How to Be a Literary Sensation, happened without my knowing it. My interactions with different writers at LitFestx, with my editors, with different people in the publishing world, all of it made me realize that there's an entire subculture out here that people are not really aware of, readers. So considering that I was a humor writer, my take was obviously a humorous one about this, and that's how this book happened.
So tell us a little, more in a very broad way about, about the Indian publishing scene.
The Indian publishing scene, how do I put it, for want of a better word, it's one that is where there is huge supply. The supply of writers far outweighs the demand for writers today. Okay, in a nutshell, what it is there are 4 or 5 big publishing houses in the country. Names, everybody knows them. Any aspiring writer knows what the names are. And for those 5 publishing houses, I think there must be, at any given day, 1,000 writers fighting for that 1 or 2 slots that are available in each month for a published book. So today it's actually, the publishing world is defined by this, of an excess of supply. Everybody wants to be a writer today. So that creates the dynamic that exists today. So that is the broad overview of what's happening today. And I also happen to be, when a new writer gets in, and he sends his manuscript to a publishing house of repute, or even the smaller ones today, the waiting period before people even get back to you, looking at the book, actually saying yes to you, which is 1 in a 10,000 chance maybe. I don't know what the probability is. It should be worked out. I'm sure there are scholars who are working on this as we speak. By the time actually it gets to a printed book, that's an entire journey in itself, the waiting. And after that, you think the job is done once your book is published and you have the printed copy in your hands. But no, a brand new journey begins after that, which is actually getting the book out into the shelves, which actually needs to be the job of the publisher, but the writer today is involved. The writer has to be involved in marketing. That's another entire journey where you make sure reviews are there for your book, that your book is actually there on shelves, that you're doing some events related to the book, and that you go to festivals. So the 2 sets of journeys here. One is waiting for the book to be published, and after that, waiting for the book to do well. So I thought there was so much. This journey had so many stops, so many surprises for me. And it's funny that it had surprises for me because I come from a family of writers. My father is a cartoonist and a writer. My grandfather is a writer. My great-grandfather was a writer, and so on. To the best of my knowledge, even 5, 6 generations before that, they were all writers. In spite of knowing this, it was still a surprising journey for me. So this book happened, without my knowing it.
And what are some of the sort of aspects of the publishing scene that you have focused on in your satire in this book?
I'll tell you what, I'll read out the blurb of my book, and that will give you a rough idea of where we're going with the book.
Sure.
See, firstly, the title of the book, How to Be a Literary Sensation, is ironic. I'm the furthest thing from a literary sensation. In fact, the stamp on my book says, India's #1 non-best-selling humor writer. I've given myself this slot because nobody else will want it. I'm actually admitting that I'm a non-best-selling writer. I'm far from a best-selling writer. So How to Be a Literary Sensation is an ironic title to begin with. You were about to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, you never know when that title is taken away from you, because once you become a best-selling author, then you will not be able to use this title of saying non-best-selling author. So whoever, who knows, you might not be holding the title for too long.
Let me put it this way, Kumar, you are a little more optimistic than I am. Thank you anyway. But I'll read out the blurb, which I said I would read. It is, the blurb says, you have a potential bestseller, but you're sick of stumbling around manuscript in hand, begging publishers to look at it. You're a published writer who has sold exactly 3 copies of your book, 2 of which are to your mother. You had enough of going to LitFestx as a mere spectator. These are all 3 these are in question form. And then it says, fear not. From India's certified #1 non-best-selling humor writer comes the ultimate self-help book for writers. find out everything you wanted to know about being a literary sensation, but couldn't ask that epic rewriter because he's blocked you. Discover the writerly art of exploiting family and friends. Must know publishing terms for every Indian writer. The connection, this is very important. The connection between vegetable bondas and bestsellers in South India is very important. When you read it, you know what the connection is. How to be a LitFest scene stealer, which I'm obviously not right now, as you can see. Publishing trends to watch out for. Copyright-free bestseller ideas, and other best-kept secrets of the Indian publishing world. Get this guide, get two in fact, and hide the second one from that pesky neighbor of yours who's writing a book. So this basically explains the book in a nutshell.
Fantastic, fantastic. I really look forward to it. You were mentioning about literary festivals. So have you been to quite a few of them? What's been your experience?
Strangely, for an unknown writer, I've been to quite a few. I think I have to give credit to my, my publisher actually and my editor. They somehow thought that let's send this guy and see as a kind of a guinea pig, see what he does, new guy. So I went to about, I think I've been to about 10 LitFests in the last 3-4 years. I think that's quite a bit. Sure. And my experiences have been varied, to say the least. Ask me specific questions and I'll answer. How
on the spot. No, I mean, I'm just generally asking you, since you mentioned in your blurb about going to literary festivals, and now you mentioned you've got, what, 10 or 12 of them that you've been to. How successful or how important did you find it in being able to connect to readers, prospective readers, or actually go out and sell your book at the festival where you're physically there?
I did actually sell a few books. I think in a couple of places actually I sold out. I sold out because I had only 20 copies, but I still did sell out. And I did make some contact with readers. There were fun interactions, but the one thing I noticed is that I find that these sessions get very serious, very rambling, and writers, as a rule, I know I'm going to get into serious trouble for this, are not people for whom sharing comes naturally. I think everybody is there with a very clear agenda. That's what I noticed. People come there with a clear intention of selling books. And when you come there with a plan like that, I don't think it makes your session interesting. I don't think you're open. I think you don't learn from other writers. I don't think you learn from people who are watching you. So that's the experience that I found as a majority. That's what I saw. But I did have very good interactions, and in fact, it was due to the encouragement of one particular LitFest that I actually ended up writing the play I wrote, Dear Anita, which is again something like my book. It is an epistolary play. It's a bunch of letters between two writers who are talking about publishing. And the other writer, it's called Dear Anita, and Dear Anita, and the play is Anita Nair playing herself. She's a really good sport. I played Krishna Shastri, the idiot new writer who doesn't know anything about publishing. And Anita Nair played the other writer, and we actually performed this in a LitFest, and we got a really good response to it, and we're hoping to take it on tour now. So my experiences have been, varied, but mostly I found that not as much sharing happens, not as much of generosity is there among the community as I would like to see. I know I'm going to get into trouble for this, but that's the truth.
So, you've been writing humor for a while now, and, tell us a little bit about your humor writing, your particular style, and when did you start, and what keeps you writing humor?
Why I became a humor writer was, the seeds are sown early. My father's a cartoonist, and that was reason one. And I could draw a bit, so I thought, I should become a cartoonist like him. And very clearly in my teenage years, I found that the second reason really emerged very clearly, and I said, no, I can't be anything else. It was because girls, very simple. Girls like a guy with a sense of humor. So I said, listen, this is with my scrawny body. I was very and I was impoverished. I said the best way to get dates is to be funny. So that kind of cemented my becoming a humor person in some form or the other. Also, humor once you grow older and you analyze these things, you realize what it is. Humor is nothing but anger. Humor stems from anger. It comes from a place where you want to basically say what you have. You want to tell people the truth. And for weak people, humor is I'm physically weak. I can't go around hitting people who I disagree with. So humor, making fun of them is a far better way of bringing people down and telling them the truth than actually getting into any other form of, conflict. So that kind of, I've found, as you said, where does the material come from, you asked? Material is right there every single day. My family gives me lots of material. My wife who's sitting in the room, she's a great source of material. My in-laws are. My growing up days, my family was writers, poets, artists, a fabulous material for humor. In fact, my first book was entirely about them. It's supposed to be a funny book. The quirks, the foibles of these people. Material is there available all the time. You just have to look around. And today my favorite material, my gold mine is coming from the publishing world.
So speaking of which, I recently read this article you had written about the selfie monkey saving the publishing world. Tell us a little about it, and do you really believe that is, currently a depiction of what's going on in the publishing space?
Kumar, humor is exaggeration. And, the selfie monkey thing just, popped up in the newspaper. It was about, I don't know, for viewers who have not heard about this, it's about this Indonesian monkey called Naruto. It happened to find a camera and it clicked pictures of itself. And then the pictures went viral. And the owner of the camera who retrieved his camera kind of got the copyright for the pictures that were there, and he was making money. When suddenly PETA decided to sue the guy and said the actual copyright holder, the holder of the intellectual property of those photographs was Naruto the monkey. And Naruto was, basically the author of the work is what they said. The Copyright Act author is used for everything. So I just picked up on the word author, and I wrote a fictitious piece about a publishing house that's in the doldrums. Right now, I think several publishing houses are in the doldrums. About, the CEO of the company, the editor, the marketing executive, and their watchman. The watchman keeps appearing in all my pieces because he knows the most about what's happening in the publishing house. They all get together and decide to sign up Naruto, the selfie monkey, to be one of their writers, because he's got all the qualities that writers need. According to him, he's a guy who's self-obsessed. He takes photos of himself. If you kind of cross him, he will throw things at you. He can do tricks that in a LitFest that you won't notice anybody else if he's there at a session. And there is also the infinite monkey theorem. I don't know if you've heard about it. It says that if a group of monkeys get together and clack away on a typewriter, they'll eventually come up with Shakespeare's complete works. So I put that into saying that, this guy, we can just use that too. And, it kind of evolved, the piece evolved, and I can assure you, by the time the session is over, I don't think I'm going to find out.
I hope nobody shutting me down as well. The session is over. Yeah, and but in your book you have made the Indian publishing scene sound like a bit of a shipwreck. And so, what do you mean by that?
The Indian publishing scene is not a shipwreck. It's a ship, and I've been made to walk the plank. That's all. I found myself without life-saving equipment in the water. That basically it's about me surviving it. Indian publishing industry is doing fine. It's chugging away like the Titanic right now. Absolutely no problems with it. So Why did I say that? Is because here's the thing. As far as I know, most writers are shy people. Right now, I've had severe tranquilizers and all kinds of medication just to be here on this, just talking to you. I'm a very nervous person. I write, I'm a writer, that's what I do. But what a writer is expected to do today, he has to go to festivals, he has to do launches, he has to, what other skills do you know? If he knows knife throwing or juggling, that's good too. He's supposed to be a multitasking, kind of this super athlete, decathlon, uh, you know, all in all, Alaviraj, for want of a better word. It's a Telugu, I mean, it's a Tamil comedian's name in a film. So I'm not that. I don't fit that. I write. That's all I'm good at. I can crack a few jokes after a couple of drinks, but I can write. That's what I do. And I found this whole thing very difficult, and I found that every writer seems to be fabulously good at it. I'm not. So that's the reason why I said, this session, naming it, how I survived the publishing industry without medication is the reason why it came up. So I find the kind of places I've been put in after having my book published difficult to negotiate. So that's the reason why I said that.
So, when you spoke about cracking jokes, etc., with recent events in India, there's a rising, one can say, level of intolerance.
Yes.
And do you think that people can take jokes in India today? Do you think it's an environment where, we can make fun of each other?
No, people can take jokes in India as long as it's not about them. That's what I noticed. You can joke about anybody except me. Yes, it is a scary place to be in today. In fact, I wrote a piece about awards, a humorous piece, and with the really much more sensible advice of my wife, I decided to hold it back and not have it published. Yes, it is a, Charlie Hebdo and what happens to cartoonists and so on around the world is the extreme side of what can be done, of intolerance. But, we face that even at smaller levels. Here at my level, I'm really writing about the publishing industry. I'm not writing about how the system needs to work. I think you can extrapolate my feelings about world and politics from what I write about the publishing industry or what I write about writers or about my mother-in-law. I think it's fairly clear. But even for that, when I'm tackling fairly light-hearted subjects, I've had people troll me on Facebook, people coming and telling me, you can do this much, but you can't do this. It is a difficult place. So I don't know. I'm negotiating it as I go along. But I'm staying clear of things that are anything directly related to politics because I want to speak. You can speak through other things too. So I'm writing about what I know.
And in terms of you saying that you've been getting trolled, etc. So do you feel that this is happening because you're taking on let's say an industry or one particular environment, or have you been facing that with a lot of your other writing as well?
No, I think humor. See, for instance, I don't know. There is this mindset today where people are not okay agreeing to disagree. They very clearly want to tell you that their opinion is right and that you have to be convinced by their opinion. I have an opinion. It could be a really silly, foolish opinion. I write it. It's up to the other person, whoever it is, to debate it in writing or in a cartoon or sculpture or music or whatever it is to prove his or her opinion. I think that's the way things ought to be. I don't think people should get personal. And if I think, say, one best-selling writer is not good, and I don't like certain features of what he's doing, that is my opinion. There's no point in trying to convince me that I'm wrong, that my opinion, that I need to change my opinion. Let me have my opinion. No, sure. You have yours. That's the thing that this coexistence is something that I think we need to work on to understand humor and to actually get it. But because there is no malice in what I write. Most humorists aren't malicious. They write because why do you find it funny? You find it funny and offensive for the same reason, because it's on a strong foundation of truth.
True.
Yeah, it's the more truthful it is, the more it will hurt you. So that's the thing that humorists have to face.
We've probably got time for a question or two from the online audience.
Okay.
There are quite a few here. I'm just going to pick one up. So this is from Samira. She says, the writing field is witnessing a bumpy patch. What do you have to say about current state of Indian titles and writers?
Samira, please buy my book. Let me be the typical writer. You will get all your answers. But no, you don't have to buy my book. The short answer is that the problem today is that there are far too many people who want to be writers without going through the necessary training for being writers. And by that, I don't mean you need to go do a formal course in literature. I'm saying you need to read first. And you need to read somebody other than the 4 or 5 people that everybody else is reading. I mean, they're all good writers. Read Chetan Bhagat, read J.K. Rowling. I've read them too. But read other writers too. I don't think you can jump into writing by reading only one writer whom everybody else is recommending. So my suggestion to Samira is that read. And then, if more writers read before they became writers, the writing scene will improve by itself.
Right. The next question is from Manisha, and she says, the book sounds so realistic on so many fronts. What inspired you to put it down on paper?
Well, I think just my journey of having been a published and unsuccessful writer for the last 4 or 5 years made me want to put this on paper. And I'm one of the few guys who actually, I've gone to LitFest where I've met so many unknown best-selling writers. I didn't know they existed, these people. Everyone is a best-selling writer. So I'm proudly admitting that I'm a non-best-selling writer. And I want people to know that there are things you can learn from non-best-selling writers too.
So, Krishna, thank you for your very candid comments.
Thanks.
And, I'm sure your take on the Indian publishing scene with this book is going to do well, because we all like a good laugh, and I'm sure a lot of other writers, publishers, everyone would be interested in your humorous take on life in publishing and life as a writer. So we wish you all the best, and we wish your book tremendous success. Any parting words for the viewers at LitFestx?
Buy my book.
Okay, good one.
Thanks, Kumar. Thank you very much for having me.
Bye.
Bye.